Hello, my friends, family, esteemed colleagues. I was asked to talk a little bit about biofilm. Now, where do we even see biofilm? Well, most commonly, biofilm is the plaque on your teeth. But you can have biofilm developing also in your gut, in your intestines. You can also have biofilm occurring in a body, in a tissue. Not very common, but yes, you can have it. Now, what is biofilm? Well, let's now check as an average individual, you would like to know about biofilm, so you go to literature. So what is it? Biofilm is characterized by heterogeneous environment and presence of a variety of subpopulations. A biofilm structure is composed of metabolically active, both resistant and tolerant, and non-active cells, as well as polymer matrix consisting of polysaccharides. Okay? You can have extracellular DNA and proteins. Biofilm growth is associated with an escalated level of mutations and horizontal gene transfer. Okay? So there is going to be genetic mutations within a biofilm. Bacteria in biofilm communicate by quorum sensing. Quorum sensing. Now, how many of you know what is quorum sensing? Again, we are talking about basically complicating stuff. You don't understand something complicated, okay? So, quorum sensing is the ability to detect and respond to cell population density by gene regulation. Okay, so in other words, if population gets too dense, it produces genes that basically suppress further amplification of the number. What are tons of bull in this overall explanation of biofilm. What is biofilm and what's happening in biofilm? So from all this that I have just read now, from a scientific literature, I know that half of you have no idea what I said. So let's take a teeth plaque as a biofilm. What is a teeth plaque? Well, that's a remnants of food that basically kind of calcify in a place. And what happens when you have a food somewhere? Well, you get a predator that munches on this food. So in the mouth, you would have bacteria. So you will have sedimented food and then predator that feeds on it, which will be bacteria or fungus. Could be something multicellular, like parasite as well. But mostly we are here talking about bacteria. So this plague, why is it a problem? because underneath it, very easily, you can have rotten tooth. And you don't even see it because it's covered with biofilm. And it's rough stuff. Washing using a brush, you cannot get rid of it. Now, biofilm, you can also have formed in the intestines. It's basically concentrated, dense medium that has bacterial overgrowth on it. Now, let's go back to plague. If you look at the teeth of any animal in the wild, there is no plague buildup. Insignificant and basically non-existing. When you look at teeth of domestic animals, well, dogs, cats, it's a huge plague buildup. You actually have to bring your pet to the vet so he can scrape it off. And we do the same. Now we don't scrape anymore, we use ultrasound, but same thing, you break it down so you can get rid of it. Why is this biofilm occurring? And why in domestic animals and in people? And why not in the nature? And here we go again. The forbidden fruit goes on the stage. Now, I don't know if it's still being done, but I remember when I was a kid, my mother was washing shirts of my father, and the collar and the cuffs were then put, after washing, they were put in solution, water with glucose, starch. So when they dry, they get stiff. What is starch? Starch, or glucose, is a monosaccharide, not polysaccharide, monosaccharide. And what is characteristic of it? It's sticky. You can use it as a glue. Little bit starch, drop of water, make a paste out of it. You can glue stuff with it. So wherever you have free glucose outside of a cellulose, then this sticky stuff is going to stick to things. And if you eat them, it's going to stick to your teeth and starts building up. Now, why is bacteria there? Well, bacteria happens to love starch. So it goes to munge on it. And then as it's munging, this is sticky stuff that is slowly hardening. So bacteria will be attracted to it and feed on it. And since it is sticky stuff, well, they get embedded in it as well. And genetically they change according to the environment. So there is no thing that bacteria all of a sudden, it's what science is saying, that bacteria is pushing out a toxin, and when too many bacteria are, the toxin becomes too strong and bacteria stop multiplying. Bull. We know if you have plenty of food, you have plenty of predators. As the food supply diminishes, so does the amount of predators. It's in nature, the same is in our body. When we feast on forbidden food, glucose, dietary glucose, well, number one, this is perfect food for bacteria. That's why it's forming there. And number two, it is very sticky. And as the same thing can happen in the intestines. Why in the intestines? Because not all the glucose will be absorbed. Remember, absorption of sugar cannot go passively through the membrane. Sugar simply does not go there. It needs to be transported. Glucose or fructose cannot enter from intestines into the blood. There has to be transporting mechanism, which is a protein called GLUT. And it traps glucose and pulls it in. So from the big plate of rice that you are eating, very small amount is actually being absorbed. Most of the rice is staying in your intestines like a glue. Just put rice in the water, mix it, and all of a sudden you will start feeling like it's a gelatin. Well, this is what's happening in intestines. And now, if you put in a play that your body does not have enough water, you're not providing enough minerals, so it cannot hold it, so it's sucking it in, and getting rid of it, because cannot match it to minerals, so it cannot achieve the proper conductivity. So now, you eat your rice, and you know it's mushy stuff, but then you don't drink enough water. You are getting into constipation. You have hard stool. We say, oh, not enough fiber. All you are eating is fiber. Nonsense. You don't have enough water. Whatever you drink, body immediately absorbs because it needs it, but then it cannot hold it because it is offsetting the electroconductivity because of lack of minerals, no ions. So it has to get it out, urinates or sweats it out. But what is important is that the amount of water in the intestines is becoming not adequate. So now you have this pasty stuff, perfect food for bacteria. And now you are having SIBO, bacterial overgrowth in the small intestine. But then you can have the same thing going all the way down to colon, bacterial overgrowth. Then we say, oh, it's not a right bacteria. This is not a bacteria we need. We have to take bacteria, good bacteria, and we have to eat those good bacteria to replace those that we have. It ain't happening. Because the environment is going to control what kind of bacteria is going to live there. You can put bacteria that you think you should have. What happens? They go in and they have no food because the bacteria that eat that kind of a food that you have in your intestines, you have plenty of. So the probiotic one have no food because probiotic bacteria are inclined, are basically prepared to attack fats and proteins, animal proteins. This is what you need. But your body is not going to have it if you are stuffing the body with carbohydrate. dietary carbohydrate, cooked or processed. So now you cannot even evacuate. And you can have stuff building up now in your intestines. And the biofilm is getting thicker and thicker and thicker. And there is a different ambient in center of it, or on the inner edge, than on the outer edge. So bacteria will slightly differ. So we say, well, we have different bacteria. Of course, you have different bacteria because bacteria is adjusting to the environment where it finds itself. And now how come that the bacteria has a limit, that it doesn't go into bigger overgrowth and doesn't basically kill the animal or human? Because there's not enough food there. Food is in the intestines, so it works on that food. So you go to bathroom, pop, you get rid of it. And it grows, and it grows pretty big because it gives you digestive problems. But we say, oh, digestive problem, well, can that be from food? I mean, I eat beans. Beans are healthy. Healthy for heart. Good fart. Better heart. Yeah, just keep repeating this nonsense that we are being told by our science. It's nonsense. The forbidden food should never ever enter our digestive system. There is no such a thing that, okay, we need a small amount of carbohydrates, small amount of starch, 20 milligrams, 20 grams. So they are inventing. It's zero. Because the only way you will have access to dietary carbohydrate, to glucose, to starch, is if you heat or process plant food, especially the starchy one, where there's accumulation of starch because it is food for the plant or new growing plant. Talking about biofilm, it's the same thing like talking about bacteria and our health in general. Talking about biome in our intestines. And now with the experts saying, oh, what the cells are intelligent and they are sending there. You get smarter and more bacteria you have because you have a shit for brain if you think this way. We are so lost because we believe what we are being told being truth. So we are trying to invent any possible way the processes that we see happening, and we don't understand why. This is why I try to always break it down and simplify it. Not big words. We don't need big words. We just have to use words to describe the idea. Word is a symbol. The more people understand symbol, the better it is. More people benefit from it. So, biofilm is just another invention, fancy name of saying, well, you have infestation of bacteria, and then, or whatever, algae, whatever, microorganisms you want to involucrate here. But it all depends on the food. Depending what kind of food you will have there, this is the type of bacteria that is going to grow. And it will grow until the food is there. You get rid of the food, you get rid of the bacteria. You're not going to sit somewhere where there's no food. So you're going to look where to go to find food, and that's where you're going to be. And where you find it, other people will find it. So this is where people will congregate. You want to buy food to eat, you go to food store. You don't go to car store or motorcycle store. Oh. Same with bacteria. It is very simple. Only science complicates it, so this way everybody gets lost in it, and we all think, wow, they must know so much. They are so smart. They are so smart that they are so stupid to understand what they are even talking about. No? It's very simple. Forget about the fancy names. Forget about biofilm. Bacterial overgrowth always relates to accessible food. More toxic you are inside, the more bacteria is going to grow there. And since you don't produce the GC marker, because you are forced to produce Nagalas, bacteria doesn't get labeled, so your white blood cells don't even know that bacteria is what they have to destroy. And bacteria, fungus, parasites, they flourish in our bodies, including cancer and cysts. Nothing is being marked for destruction. And why is the denser accumulation normally in a liquid? If you have two bacteria, they are basically held apart. Why? Because as a living bodies, they have electric charge, and they produce electromagnetic field. Outside positive, positive repels. In the liquid, they move easily and they repel easily. What is characteristic with the toxicity? It's low on energy. So even the bacteria, their voltage will drop, which means their electronic shield, their magnetic aura is going to diminish. They will come closer. The more toxic environment, the less energetic it is, and the cells can touch, they can congregate. And this is what happens with a toxic food in a toxic body and appearance of bacteria. It's all simple. We don't need big words. We just have to know what we are talking about. So, if you have plague on teeth, or you have bacterial overgrowth in your intestines, SIBO or whatever they call it, million names. If you have a thick biofilm in your intestines, or even forming underneath subcutaneous tissue, as little hard balls, you know, that kind of you can move them like a little bit around it. You are toxic. Cleanse, hydrate, change your diet. Get off the vegetable train. Hop on the Meat Express. Thank you for listening. Till next time, love you all. Namaste.